what is the difference between spirituality and religion? And, I think it's a useful point to talk about that. Again, Ayurveda being body, mind, and spirit, we should touch upon these issues at some point in the course. And most yogis I know claim that yoga is a spirituality but not a religion, and that this is what makes yoga universal and liberated, right? That's what I've seen a lot of yogis say. So what is spirituality and what is a religion? Well, spirituality is the quality of being concerned with the human spirit or the soul, as opposed to material or physical things. And a religion, on the other hand, is a specific form of worship. So spiritual people have been compared to philosophers, right? In a way that they contemplate the immaterial world, and spiritual people explore meaning and the nature of things. Some spiritual people believe that supernatural phenomena exist, and some don't. Religious people, such as with priests, right? Sort of comparing priests versus philosophers here. Religious people do contemplate meaning and nature, but they participate in specific rituals, ceremonies, and have a specific belief system, right? And so it can come down to this, that philosophers talk about, study, wonder, muse about God, about the divine, while a priest worships a specific God, right? A priest comes and says, this is who I worship, and this is who my God is, right? So philosophers will contemplate truth, and spiritual people will contemplate and ask a lot of questions. And priests will give a specific answer. And which is better? Well, answers can be very comforting, right? But only if the answer's right. And questions are really important too. But questions are endless and disorienting also. So I'm not going to, answer that question for you. But I'm just going to say what my journey was like. Is that eventually, as I got deeper into my yoga practice, I became hungry to fill that empty space that spirituality, philosophy, intellectual life, and contemplation alone couldn't fill. And that empty space was something which seemed really central to religion. As much as I love philosophy, and you could probably tell from this talk, and those who know me attest to this because I'm always reading about philosophers, thinking about, as much as I love philosophy, thinking about God was no longer enough for me. I wanted to worship a God. I wanted to worship God. I wanted to get out of the abstract and into the concrete, right? I didn't want to just, think about God. I wanted a relationship with God, right? I wanted contemplation and worship, not just contemplation, and not just worship either, right? I wanted both. I wanted a faith life with a rich intellectual tradition, but also one that I could worship something specific. And so for me, ultimately, the difference between having a spirituality and a religion was like the difference between studying what love is and loving an actual person, or between loving in the abstract and loving something in particular, or like the difference between studying humanity and having a degree in anthropology, or having a friend, a specific friend. So philosophers are universal. And again, I love philosophy. I love universal thinking. Philosophers love maps and blueprints that transcend individual people. They say, how do people work? As opposed to, how does this person work? And so philosophers love talking about the nature of things and distilling things down to their bare essence. And yoga spirituality essentially does that. I mean, you're stripping it of all your physicality, of all matter, of all desire, and you're getting down to the bare universal essence, the universal oneness. So so yoga kind of has that sort of philosophical bent of stripping things down to their bare essence. Priests, on the other hand, they worship something specific. And I don't mean, by the way, a priest in a specific tradition, but priests in any tradition, shamanic, etc. Priests tend to worship something specific, something that has a face. And I wanted a faith life with a face, right? I wanted a faith life with contemplation and with a face. And so, I grew up in an Italian-American family. I value specific people, and as well as all of humanity. I'm equally interested in my family and friends as in the universal nature of the cosmos. So I wanted my spiritual life to reflect this universality and specificity. And so like I began to search for something beyond just mere spirituality. And eventually, as all of you know, this led me back to my Catholic roots, and the rich intellectual tradition of Catholicism, as well as that sort of personal relationship with my Creator, Jesus Christ. And so, this was my journey. This is where it went for me. And what's your journey? I'm just gonna leave you with questions to ponder that relate to some of these main yoga spiritual themes, and see what you think.